Bill Jackson says he's long sought spiritual practices to help quiet his own restless mind. For him, Zen Buddhism held the key. It teaches through mindful awareness and selflessness. One can approach every moment with clarity, focus, and calm. Phil says 3 Zen principles have been critical to him as a leader: giving up control, trusting in the moment, and living with compassion. But you were drawn specifically to Zen Buddhism. Why?
Well, I think it's the daily practice of meditation. I think the form of meditation fits my style really well. You're beginning your day with a quiet mind and starting your day in peace. It's kind of getting into a peace. Yeah, then you're always capable of bringing yourself back during the day.
Yeah, it's giving up control,
Yeah.
which is so interesting because you think of a coach as being in control of his team, but you maintain control by giving up control.
When we try to control our mind, when we try to control our personalities that we're with, it's like trying to control a farm animal, a sheep, a cow, in a pasture that's too small for it. And it'll break through the fences. If you get obsessed with something, you'll break through your meditative state and become focused on this unless you just let it go. Go through. It's like a cloud passing through the sky. It comes in your mind and then it passes right through. It's happening, it's happening. Okay, now he's through, now he's centered again, now we're okay. Now we're back on beam. So it was like that with Dennis, and I had watched him before. He's with the Detroit Pistons, and Chuck Daly, who I admired as a coach, was an animated coach. And as he got animated, Dennis would become more animated on the floor. It's like his energy source was right there feeding into Dennis's energy source. So I thought, this guy he sometimes can go over the edge. I better just sit back and become a quiet, use that meditation practice while I'm sitting on the bench.
And what did the guys think of you coming in with your Zen stuff?
I never couched it in Zen stuff.
What is the weirdest thing he did with you in practice that you're like, what the hell are we doing here?
He had a Tai Chi master come to practice, and we walk out there, and the Tai Chi master standing in center court and tells us to take our shoes off. And I'm pissed because I'm ready to play basketball. And he's standing up there and says everybody closes their eyes and stuff, and he does stuff like monk gazing at moon and talks about the fingertips and barely touching and the spirituality of all that. And I'm peeking around like, is everybody doing it?
I approached it with mindfulness. A lot of our players in the NBA are from deeply religious families, very much like my background.
Yes, yeah.
And, anything that would be a conflict of their religious beliefs, I didn't want to touch or get them upset about it. And
Isn't it interesting how you knew that because you'd come from that?
Exactly. So we talked about mindfulness as being, as much as we pump iron and we run to build our strength up, we need to build our mental strength up so we can focus, get one-pointed attention, and so that we can be in concert with one another in times of need.
You also say that the critical ingredient in winning a ring is love. Would you like to explain?
I know teams that get along well together, they party well together, they have great times together, but they're not about, the sharing and the real deep care that goes into what you have to do as a team. That mean that you have to move outside of yourself and think about others. You take a breath and you reset yourself. And you do that through this mindfulness. You just come right back in and collect yourself. So we practiced mindfulness, is what you have to do.
Phil's there doing it himself. He's like, he's doing this whole, doing all this stuff, And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it.
So you would literally have the guys sit in stillness.
That's right.
Meditating.
That's right. We introduced it, and we introduced it in training camp. And then day of games, we started using it.
Did you not also have them play in the dark at one point?
It wasn't totally dark, but I wanted them to get the idea of being able to do things that are just out of the ordinary, like silence day. You have a day of just silence. There's a lot of chatter in basketball.
And so were the guys receptive in the beginning to these new ideas about mindfulness?
I used to tell him all the time, I said, Phil, look, I know what you're doing, bro. Don't insult my intelligence. I know you're being a to me on purpose. Like, just like, tell me.
I think they tolerated it, and I think the reason why they tolerated it, this is one of the things I talk about in the book, is about being authentic and coming from who you are and what you think is important. We tried a bunch of things that didn't stick, but I wanted to give them opportunities to explore some of those things. But what did stick was meditation.
But honestly, I bought into it. I bought into the meditation. I bought into the deeper connection that exists within the game. Game 7 against Boston, we were never rattled, ever, because we're always in the moment, always in the present, always extremely calm, always looking at the reality of the situation and not letting our emotions cloud our execution. And that comes from being in that meditative state that he would teach and preach from day one. So he would do whatever it took to make sure that that happened. And he is a genius in every sense of the word, and how he sees the game, how he sees the spirituality of the game. And people don't understand that.
I'm with you. They're 100%, by the way.
That was always something that was able to stick with these guys.
So powerful.
You know, I think those guys would have laid down and let me run on top of them or something.
How's your relationship till today? I mean, you guys won 5
It's like a father figure.
Really?
Yeah, it feels like a father figure, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
To put spirit into it. You have
Put
to get
spirit into
spirit
it.
back into things.
Your coaching techniques, you say, arose from your belief system, which, if I've read it right, is sort of a combination of Christian mysticism, some Zen Buddhism, and some Native American beliefs. Do you believe there's a God?
Well, yes. I'm not so sure we use that word in the right tense or context, I should say. You know, I like, you know, all those other terms, Yahweh, or the, you know, the prime mover, or, you know, the presence that there is, or whatever. But, you know, that naming aspect, I understand. Sometimes it gets pretty rigid and formal. It's about following the moment, being in harmony with the moment. It's really important, and I think that's where you know, we've lost some of our idea of what is religion and what is spirituality.